What is up, Pump Fake Pod? How are we doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Elliot, what's going on? Not quite the full trio, but we got two men hanging out here. Elliot, what's up? What's up, man?
Man, not much. Just ready to talk some. I believe NEC and Ivy League tonight. Was a fun weekend. I was in a non-sports betting state, so I didn't get to bet a lot this weekend. However, I did enjoy some of those barn burner games, and unfortunately, my K-State Wildcats let me down yet again, and I think let Trevor down based on his tweet that he's never betting K-State ever again. So
why would you? That was the easiest bet on the board, betting against him.
It's very cool.
No, Fafita started off strong, but it definitely fizzled out. K-State kind of figured him out in the second half, but I was strong. Couldn't miss a bet Friday. New Mexico. Went on the Locks and Dogs podcast with our good friend Cannabis Capper. Couldn't miss a bet. And then I fizzled out in the afternoon, but picked it back up. A&M money line. So solid college football. And then an up and down NFL. I picked a couple good spreads. Colts money line was big. Massive. Best team in the country. You might as well sprinkle a Super Bowl future on them.
Personal foul, given the long snapper the business.
You might as well want that when you find out what 0-2 tastes like. It's been a while. I mean, since maybe Alex Smith or Mahomes' first year. No, maybe.
Chipotle sponsor us.
I had Chipotle today as well too, but no.
What's your go-to? What's your go-to order?
I don't know. I think it's an overrated place anyway. But I'll go burrito. I'll go burrito. But I'm not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about college basketball. There's been a lot going on, Elliot. Many think, it's September. Yes, football's kicked off. College football week 4. You know, we definitely watch college football. We watch NFL already coming up to week 3. People don't realize college basketball is right around the corner. No?
48 days. 48 days until opening tip-off, Monday, November 3rd. We actually got, I think, I was doing a little research, and NCAA approved practices begin next Monday, September 22nd. So next Monday is the approved practices, which basically means this week they're pretty much doing like a conditioning boot camp. So you should see a lot of the college teams starting to ramp up their Twitter game, and they should be doing a lot of just kind of conditioning, things like that this week, and then they ramp into practice next Monday. And then opening day, like I said, 48 days away, Monday, November 3rd. So can't wait.
Yeah, and Elon and Queens in recent news merging together to become one. Some consolidation has been an issue in the United States. No politics, but everywhere. I mean, conglomerates exist everywhere, every industry. And you're kind of seeing it now here. Elon and Queens, like, let's come together. Let's build a powerhouse in North Carolina. Mad respectable. I don't believe it's same athletic programs. Interested to see how this one plans out. If you can confirm that with me, I don't believe it is their athletic programs, but
that is correct. Per my researches and Twitter sources, they are not planning to merge Division I. They're both going to the athletics programs are going to remain separate since they're separate campuses. So I'm under the impression that they will be not merging athletically, and they'll both retain as individual Division I athletic programs.
And it just came out. I mean, we kind of touched on it somewhat, but gambling probe investigating 13 former men's college basketball, Fresno State, San Jose State. I mean, we got everyone involved. We talked Eastern Michigan. We've tailed them. Temple, Arizona State. I mean, an absolute epidemic. I guess they're too busy watching some great college basketball podcasts such as ourselves, The College Experience. Hell, maybe even the Field of 16. Yeah, we'll move on. But no, I mean, it is an issue, and I think we're we're seeing gambling in every sport kind of bleed into it, especially from the athletics and the athletes. NBA's let go of people, NFL has banned people. It's an issue. And people in college basketball think that they can get away with it just on the low end of who we watch, but we got some sickos that are betting on this shit. So look out, Eastern Michigan. You got found out. Places like that, Fresno State, they were awful last year. So
Tim Miles.
I'm excited to see that develop more, no?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And like you said, it's just becoming, as it becomes, legal in more and more states. Shout out Missouri, December 1st is the go live date for online sports gambling in Missouri. So if you are in Missouri, you're counting down the months, and you'll be kind of right into the thick of things, with NFL going full swing, college basketball, college football will still be going. So you'll be in a good spot to begin your legal betting path.
And so Missouri getting legal, I guess, finally.
Which it blows my mind because, like, it's so funny. Like, I was in Oklahoma this weekend, and it's just so funny that, like, both Oklahoma and Missouri legalized pot. Whatever, you can smoke, whatever. Kansas, no go, can't. But by God, we can sports bet like a motherfucker here. But Missouri and Oklahoma, absolutely not. I think Oklahoma has to do more with like the Indian casinos and stuff. They're kind of putting their foot down and stopping the sports betting, the online sports betting at least. But it's just funny to me that Missouri and Oklahoma haven't, but yet they're legalizing, marijuana, which is like, another tax revenue, which is like, okay, why wouldn't you do sports betting too?
Well, obviously, marijuana has nothing to do with anyone's looks. Any issues there? But I will say that, I was shocked. I thought Missouri was legal. I just went out there. It was not. But that's good news. And then I guess Wofford let go of their coach. This was after.
That came out Friday.
September 12th. Yeah. So interesting news there.
Apparently, it was some unconfirmed rumors, but apparently it was about kind of like maybe a possible housing scandal, where there was unapproved payments for different players' off-campus townhomes.
That's bullshit. I mean, what the fuck matters anymore? I mean, I don't know. I don't know all the developments, but
exactly. No, that was my thoughts. Exactly, but we'll see. I don't think. Do you know? Have they hired within or?
I don't know. I don't know the developments there, but I do know. I think that it's an intern that stepped in internally. Yes. So
I haven't seen anything in regards to like a formal hire yet. So I'm guessing the intern will take over. Obviously, like I said, practices start next week, so it's pretty pressing that they at least get an intern pinned down, or maybe he'll be the intern. They'll announce that he's the intern for this whole year. Who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, on better news, I guess, outside of firing, go to IU, transfer from Sam Houston State, Lamar Wilkinson, six-figure check with his NIL money from IU. I'm sure he got paid $1 million, or very close, probably $1 million. And Lamar Wilkinson, six-figure donation to his former school, Sam Houston State, according to CBS Sports. Wilkerson told the Field of 68, "I did it out of love, man. I did it out of love for Coach Chris Mudge, for just Sam Houston. I'd been there for 3 years, so it was home for me. I got comfortable there. Built a family with a lot of people, a lot of donors and everything. I want to keep seeing them get better over time, so I was willing to help." Wilkerson scorched IU when they played. He averaged 20.5 points last year at Sam Houston State. He chose IU. Incredible. That's something that you can see. That's some great news there, and that's my point guard. I'm excited to see him lead the floor if he's going to be able to lead that.
So my question to you is: so when we're talking six figures, are we talking like $100,001? Are we talking 950?
I don't think it makes a difference. I mean, either way, the kid's in college. Even if he only gets paid $1 million out of NIL, I'm sure he makes more than that. But let's say his NIL checks $1 million. I mean, that's 1/10 of the money he's making. If it's
100%. It's his tithe. he's tithing. But just
that's a fair point.
That the amount that he just
donate to your old school. That's the whole point of it. It's fuck the money, whatever nonsense. I mean,
the blessing.
He donated to his old school.
The blessing.
He went to the dark side. He goes to the P5, and he gets the money, but he's not forgetting about his roots, and that's what it's all about. And I think hopefully that's a model for what the NIL can be, and at least for these transfers that are stepping into P5 for the first time.
No, I agree. I think it's very awesome. Like he said, he wouldn't be able to be in the position that he's in without Sam Houston and without the coach that first believed in him and recruited him and developed him as the player that he is. So it's just cool to see him give back. I hope, like you said, I hope there's many more players that look at this and have the courage, not really the courage, but just get the to give back to their former school, especially these smaller D1 schools like Sam Houston State. Regardless of whether it was 100,000 or whatever it was, that's a substantial amount of money that's going to significantly help that program.
And I mean, it's hard to argue that. It's hard to argue, that good to just see that money can be used for a good thing. I'm not saying that people do it as a bad thing, but it's good to see that on display. Let's go Lamar Wilkerson, but enough news. Let's go ahead and get into what we're here for. Elliot will be setting up the timestamps, so shout out Elliot to get you the timestamps if you want to forget about the college basketball news. Forego that. But if not, you can join us there, and we'll have timestamps, or you can jump right into the NEC and the Ivy League. Check out that thumbnail on display.
Man,
got the NEC and Ivy League, some of the two most powerhouse conferences in college basketball. I'm making sure I do not get up again. Elliot, let's talk universally here. Let's talk thematically here before we get into the nitty-gritty of these teams. I'm going to use my last bathroom break. I'm going to get through all these teams without getting up, I promise. But let's go ahead and put you on the spot here and talk thematically just about these conferences and maybe what you've seen this year while I take a 45-second break.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the conferences as a whole, one of the big things with the Northeast Conference, two major news pieces. You have the new team with the New Haven Wolverines. Correct me if I'm wrong, but New Haven Wolverines, I believe. But they are joining the conference. And then also we had the big announcement. Chargers? My bad. New Haven Chargers. How could I forget? I hate the fucking Los Angeles Chargers. So the New Haven Chargers. But then the other big announcement was St. Francis making the tournament last year. They decided to drop down from D1 to D3. And with that comes the resigning and retiring of their coach. So they have a brand new coach, which I did note. For the NEC, there's going to be 3 teams that are not eligible for the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, it's Moyne, Mercyhurst, and New Haven. Stonehill is the one that's going to be that they're finally past their 3-year window, so they get the opportunity to reach the NCAA tournament this time. So only 7 of the 10 teams will actually be eligible for the NCAA tournament, so that makes it a little interesting conference. And then the biggest thing about the Ivy League, as we all know, is Fran McCaffrey going to Penn. So that's some big news there as well.
Yeah, no, great stuff there. Thanks for filling in. I mean, NEC, Friday night games. Ivy League, some Friday night games as well, too. Ivy League, not as many conference games as we know. And Crutch in the chat. Shout out, Crutch. Take a look at the pinned tweet on our Twitter page, the MAC. Come join us for the MAC episode. We're going to need you for that. In college basketball, I mean, a lot of sports were invented in the Northeast, but the country was invented in the Northeast in the colonials and those 13 colonies. So, I mean, lot of stats we can throw out there, but we know who recognizes where basketball is from, the state of Indiana, in the Midwest. So, NEC, Ivy League, Got some smart schools here. Elliot, we're going to go into the NEC first. Are you cool with that?
Yep. Cool with me.
Yeah, and great call out. I mean, St. Francis, fantastic game in the first four in Dayton. One of the best games outside of like the Elite Eight, Final Four, college, and the championship. One of the best games, definitely in the early rounds, was that St. Francis game in the first four, and it's just a shame. And yeah, 1-in-7 chance here to hang out. A team that's definitely done it and has experience, Central Connecticut State, the Blue Devils, New Britain, Connecticut. Last season, 25-7, Northeast Conference 14-2. That led them to be first. Coach Pat Sellers, he's 63-64 in his 4 years at Central Connecticut State. You got to think. There's no returning starters mentioned. I apologize, but there are none returning starters at all. So a fresh new look for Central Connecticut State. You lose some people in the transfer portal. It's just kind of how it is, especially for these lower end teams. But good coaches prevail. I do like what Pat Sellers brings to the table. I don't think this is going to be necessarily an issue at all whatsoever. They definitely got screwed last year. There's some interesting games, things that don't go their way. You get 25 wins in a season, but yet you don't make the tournament. Just really criminal ending to the season. Got to be somewhat of a chip on your shoulder going into this season, somewhat, especially knowing that you have a 1-in-7 chance and not a 1-in-10 chance.
Yeah, no, for sure. These are classic kind of muck it up team with the Pat Sellers defense. Always seems to have these low grinded out type of games, which kind of point proven to that ridiculous, what was it, like 46-43 or 49-46? I can't remember, but it was played in the 40s that when St. Francis beat them in the finals. Just absolutely just a classic Big 12 Texas Tech Oklahoma shootout, Baker and Mahomes style.
You lose three big players in the transfer portal: Devin Hade, Abdul Momo. And some just getting older and becoming in our age and graduating. Feel free to come on the Pump Fake Pod. Pouring out here, but they do have returning players. They have some coming. None starters returning, but definitely role players. I don't know if you have those, Elliot, by you, but definitely contributors last year that kind of get that step up position that we talked about a lot in the Patriot League and Ohio Valley Conference preview last week. In our first one, it's time to step up for these bench players, and at least there's players returning that have that chip on their shoulder of almost sniffing the gold, getting to Dayton, and just blowing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they return Jay Rogers averaged about just under 10 points a game. Good solid senior guard for him. A couple forwards in Max Frazier and Darren Smith. They'll kind of be key pieces into the defense. They'll be able to buy in. Already have bought in, I should say, to Pat Sellers' defensive style. And then the other one that I'm kind of looking forward to, looking to see is they lost a guy for a couple years now. I think Jay Rogers? Yeah, he hasn't been healthy the last couple years. And so with that, he's missed 55 games over the last 2 years. And so that's something to kind of look out for. Average 10 points, but battle a lot of injuries if he can stay healthy. Senior guard that can really kind of be good for them. I don't think that they're going to repeat as this 14-2. That was just a heck of a conference run that they kind of went, albeit with the disappointing loss there in the finals. But, I think that they'll still be within the top of this conference just based on their defensive prowess and what Pat Sellers kind of the defensive scheme and just how he plays the game and how he likes to muck it up. They'll never win by a lot usually, but it's always going to be they should always
you don't have to. That you make a great point there that this conference that you don't have to, you muck it up. And win these games that way, and that's what Pat Sellers brings to this team. And got to shout out Gabe Spinelli going to the backcourt. We may be big Gabe Spinelli fans, but he actually will be transferring, and we'll be talking about him. So it'll be interesting to see some of these players bouncing around, even conferences and whatnot. I'm still high on this team. I think just the way that they can play both sides of the ball as a program it goes a long way regardless. So we'll just see if that they can match the athleticism that other teams bring in the NEC. You got anything else here before we move on?
Nope.
We will give our predictions at the end. We always give our top to bottom predictions on each conference at the end, but we do go in alphabetical order of the conference here. So yeah, Central Connecticut State. It'll be fun to get into it. But a fun team we always love, Chicago State. Chicago State Cougars out of Chicago last season, 4-28. NEC 4-12. So all wins the NEC. It's because they go through a gauntlet. They went through a traveling gauntlet. They were traveling. I mean, I don't know if they got planes. They definitely don't got planes. Maybe flying chartered, hopefully, but not taking a bus because they were bouncing all over the country last year. They were touching the Northwest. They were touching the Northeast. They were back in the Midwest. They were down South. They were down the Southwest. Incredible gauntlet they went through in the non-conference. We got first-year coach Landon Boosie. What up, Landon? Let's go, Landon. Landon Boosie from Xavier, Louisiana. He brings in a couple assistants from Minnesota, Wake Forest, UNLV. I mean, he's got a big coaching record. You bring in a similar like Signetti kind of model. I mean, not really. Signetti was D1, but a similar model. Bringing in a lower end coach on these low major teams, I think it's good from an NAIA perspective. If they've been able to win, now they can take that jump to the next stage. And sometimes it's not even that big of a step because in those moments, D2, NAIA, you're on that national stage. When has Chicago State been on the national level? They did get a big win against Northwestern, Boo Booey's team. That was great. So I mean, but good. They bring in some good transfer signings. I do think this is going to be an improvement on a 4-28. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a big jump, but I have to say that I like a first-year coach bring, and anything's a step up for 4-28. I know the season before they weren't completely awful. They had great athletes, great basketball players, and they were fun to watch. And like I said, they got a win against Northwestern. So, do I think they're a big step up from 4 wins? No, but I mean, is 10 a big 10 range a big step up? I don't know. I think they'll be able to compete in the NEC more, and we'll be seeing how coach takes the next step.
Yeah, it's just funny to me how at one point, just a few years ago, Chicago State was in the WAC, and now they've kind of worked their way all over, but from the Western Athletic Conference all the way over to the Northeast Conference.
Traveling gauntlet.
So
the Ride Warriors.
I was just looking up their schedule. They start out with Cannabis Cappers DePaul team. They're at DePaul, but they really don't travel all over the place this year. They go to St. Louis, at Butler. They're at Minnesota, Iowa, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Youngstown State. Go to Indiana. You might be going to that game maybe 5 days before Christmas. And then they start an NEC play. So they're not really traveling like they did last year. Like you had mentioned, speaking of Spinelli, Scott Spinelli, that was the coach last year. Chicago State decided not to renew his contract. So that's where they brought Landon Boosie in from Alcorn State. I think this can get really interesting for Chicago State here because Boosie brings in at least 3 or 4 guys from the SWAC, several SWAC veterans that could pose a little bit of an issue. I mean, we saw LIU success with just athletic guards.
Marcus Tankersley, right.
So the fact that they're going to bring in kind of these athletic SWAC type players, I think that it could pose a problem for the NEC, and it might make them, immediately a little bit more competitive than what they were last year.
How many athletic conferences? SWAC, MEAC, MAC. They're athletic conferences. You don't see the Big 12, Big 10. They're not athletes, I guess.
Exactly. So, yeah, like you said, Marcus Tankersley comes over from Alcorn State with him, kind of a 6'4" combo guy, drives to the paint. I think I could see him averaging, anywhere from about 15 to 18 points, getting to the line, drawing several fouls per game. So yeah, like you said, I don't think that they're going to be in the bottom. I don't think they're going to be a bottom dweller like they were tied 8th. I see them taking a step up just because of the recruits that Bussy brought in, and the fact that it's kind of just a little mismatch from what your typical NEC teams are. So I'm curious to see how that translates. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Great points, and bringing in some D2 NAI players, Doyle Crockle III. I got to pronounce this one. Lionel Larvadane III. Larvadane. Those two combined for 38 points a game in their own college, in their old colleges, and then also Corey Sands. So I'm excited to see these guys take the next step, and we always love rooting for Chicago State. Let's go Chicago State. All right. Elliot, do you want to take us away and lead us off with Fairleigh Dickinson after I just go through the 8th grade PowerPoint here? Yep. Hackensack, New Jersey, last season 13-20, NEC 8-8. So a pretty good run in the NEC, although you're 500. But a second-year coach in Castleberry for being 13-20. You got to think he was 15-17. So I don't necessarily think it's probably time. I mean, you're not going to necessarily fire a coach, but it's probably time for him to take a next step. And they're always just kind of that middle of the road team here.
Yeah. I mean, everybody loves Fair Dick, so we always got to, we got to talk about him. But yeah, ever since, I think Castleberry, he was, Tobin Anderson's assistant coach, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
That's where he came over. And like you said, it's kind of been a so-so 28-37 last 2 years. Obviously, you're gonna play that tough non-con. So to kind of be around that 500 range is probably good overall. However, I would like to see maybe Fairleigh Dickinson take a little step up in terms of just their conference record. I see them more as like a 10-6, 11-5 type team. If they're wanted to get back to when they were, dancing with that. Oh, who was that little short guard that they had when they went to the tournament with Tobin? I love that guard. I cannot remember what his name was.
Not Doug Ebert. That was St. Peter's, but
that was St. Peter's with the mustache. This one, he's like that short little black guy, quick speed, just fearless. God,
like a beat-ups deal, right?
Yeah, I cannot think of his name.
I can't think of it either. I'm blanking on it. Don't look it up.
No, I'm not. It'll come to me.
But I want to be high on this team, but no returning starters for Fairleigh Dickinson here. I think they kind of just lack talent that other teams do. I mean, as Castleberry's talked about, according to Blue Ribbon, we got Castleberry saying, believes in an up-tempo offense. I think part of what makes the motion offense really good is when guys have been playing in it for a very long time to fully understand it. So you got some pieces here, little in there, but smaller team. You do have a 7-footer, but you got a pretty smaller team outside of that. So see if they can spread the floor. But I just feel like they kind of lack the athleticism. And normally you don't see a huge athletic league or athletic players in the NEC. I'm not, no disrespect. I mean, look at me. I'm not an athlete, but just compared to other conferences. But I think this is actually one of the more physical years in the last couple of years in this conference. So does the up-tempo style work necessarily to a team like Wagner, to a team like we saw with Central Connecticut State? I don't know. Better have those shots working. So I think that's where you get the variance of an 8-8 in the conference, living and dying by the 3 there. So we'll see if this transfers But I think they lack athleticism here. I think it's another middle of the road spot for Casberry.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, you bring up a good point with the fact that, they're that up tempo type of an offense, and where it can, can cause can pose some problems for some teams like a Wagner, like a Central Connecticut State, who like to slow the game down, play low scoring games. That can kind of be advantageous for Fairleigh Dickinson. However, with the addition of LIU being super athletic, Chicago State being super athletic, when they're going to try to kind of run and gun and play that up tempo style against those athletic teams, I don't think it's going to fare well for them. So like you said, it'll be interesting to see. I think a lot will rely upon the guards that they brought in. I know they brought in Joey Wiseman. Joey Neisman. He came from the D2 level. So I think up front, like in the front court, they might be okay, but it's going to depend on how the backcourt develops, and really see how if they can find a couple, 2-3 pieces in the backcourt that can cause some damage, and just be able to guard in this league that's defensively minded. And we'll just see. I'm with you though. I think that they kind of stay in that 8-8 range. I don't see them necessarily taking a step up. If I'm going to foreshadow.
Yeah. All right. The Knights are knighted. Speaking of up tempo, Moyne, Syracuse, New York. Last season 9-23, 4-12 in the NEC. Nate champion, 69-79. 5 years here at Moyne. Pretty impressive, and some of those are not also. A D1 record. But it's something to point out here. According to Blue Ribbon, since his program's Division I debut in the NEC Conference 2 years ago, champion squads have finished in the top 2 in the league in Ken Pom offensive efficiency, despite their records. So they're able to just get a lot of possessions. Law of averages starts to set in there when it comes to that offense, and you're able to see points. But just disappointing. Kind of lacking the physicality that I think that you're going to see with Fairleigh Dickinson that we mentioned just on the last team spot. But, they do got players. You got 2 returning starters at least, which is good. You bring in some people from the portal, Amitri Moss, North Florida. You got Shiloh Jackson at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Hey, John, what's going on? Crutch, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Samuel Hincapie. And Tennessee Rainwater, who was on the Utah Tech. We talked about the team name. He now joins the Lemoyne Dolphins. And you can go ahead and mention the returning players as well. But I think those portal pieces are massive additions for this Lemoyne team. And I'm a little higher on them than years past. It is a shame that they don't have quite the access to the NCAA tournament if they please. But I think they can flirt with being just above 500 in the NEC. I just worry about that style of offense, like we mentioned with Fair Dick. Let's just see if that efficiency can still creep in, and if law of averages will continue.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is kind of a point proven. They're typical to prove my philosophy of offense is cool, but defense wins championships. When you look at the offensive rating, yes, but they also, when you look at the defensive rating, they're the 4th worst defensive efficiency in college basketball. So that kind of shows you maybe why they were 4-12 last year, despite having a higher powered offense in a defensive minded league. It's going to be pretty important that you are defensively minded, and it's pretty easy to, I think, get those possessions when you're such a terrible defensive team. You're giving up and allowing people to score at such a high rate. You get those amount of possessions just for the fact that you're letting them score within the first 5-10 seconds, just due to like putrid defense. But they did lose quite a bit of of their players. I think over half of their roster they lost via the transfer portal. They do return a couple guys, Nate Fouts, Trent Muscura, and Dangarang, all of which kind of average in that 8-point range. So they do bring some people back, but like you said, I think they're kind of more trying to rely on the pieces that they brought into the portal. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not too high on Lemoyne just quite yet. I think they're still building as a program. Again, third year in the Northeastern Conference as a D1 program. So this will be their last year before they will be eligible for the NCAA tournament next year. So they are one of the teams that is not eligible. So I don't necessarily have super high hopes with them. I think
we saw with Merrimack. I'm not to interrupt, but this conference, Merrimack won the conference, which ultimately led to Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue. Craziness. Hopefully we see something crazy like that from the NEC producing from one of these. Like we just see like three of the teams that don't make it in the semifinals and they win. So the fourth place finisher gets in. That would be awesome.
I'd have to do some digging because I think the only 8 make it. I don't think all 10 teams make it. I think 8 teams make it to the conference tournament, and I don't think that
unless they changed it, but it was 8 last year. But sometimes they always change it, but it was 8 last year.
I don't think that New Haven is eligible for even postseason play at all, like for their conference tournament. I believe I believe Lemoyne is, and I believe that Mercyhurst is now. But I don't think that New Haven. So it'll be one.
Moyne is. I think Lemoyne made their tournament last year.
Yeah.
They finished 8th, I believe.
So it'll be. I had to do a little bit more digging on that. But I do know I don't think that New Haven is eligible for even the postseason conference tournament. But
how many Dolphins are in Syracuse, New York, by the way? But there are Sharks on Long Island, though. And last season, 17-16, very impressive. 12-4 in the NEC, big win against Air Force in non-conference play. One of my biggest cashes last year, to be honest with you, taking them live. Rod Strickland, 27-64, but I mean major step up, 17-16 last year. Look at the record here, 3 years at Long Island. What he's building is special. 3 returning starters, not mentioned on that slide. They're offensively built to last and run, and I think this team has a legitimate chance to win the NEC. I'm very high on them. They're bringing in good pieces as well, and I like what Rod Strickland's been able to produce. And now that he's got his 3 years under his belt, going into his 4th year, he's kind of got a familiarity with the conference. He feels good. Understands the other coaches. There's not many new first-year coaches. There are some. But he's played these coaches before. He gets their style of play. Now he can kind of settle in and also have the continuity of bringing in other seniors and other players as well from last year. So I'm high on the Sharks, and there are shark attacks on Long Island. There's a lot of sharks now on Long Island. It's a good name. Elliot, what are you feeling about the Sharks?
Not mentioned on the slide. Home court of Wellness, Recreation, and Athletic Center. Always gotta add that. Classic. They've given us several great moments. The past couple seasons. What with the goal?
Sketchy moments for sure.
The goal falling down.
The bus breaking down.
The elevator not working, and the game getting delayed for 25 minutes.
ESPN Plus just blacking out.
So they would just
camera angles going like this, that.
Not cover. There's some sketchy shit going on in Long Island, but I think all for the right reasons. I think I brought up the point to you in regards to Chicago State, being athletic and kind of posing a problem for several teams here in the NEC, and I believe that LIU is kind of the Chicago State on steroids. I think that they are a lot better than Chicago State and more athletic, more fundamental. They got guys that can score. I just think that the one thing that they kind of got to do is they got to really buy into, playing on the defensive end, which I think Rod Strickland will be able to kind of get his guys to do. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Rod Strickland's a great recruiter. He's going to bring in guys. He's going to bring in dudes that are super athletic, that can play basketball. And I think that the NEC
bringing someone from UAB, I mean, it's pretty impressive. I know a stint from in Iona, Greg Gordon. But I mean, you bring in someone from UAB to come back to the NEC. I mean, it's impressive. Strickland is definitely enticing some of these kids to come play for, and a lot of these kids want to play for familiar faces that, yeah, they may not have been born for when Rod Strickland was playing, but we all know when Rod Strickland, who mainly Rod Strickland is. If you're a ball knower, hopefully, and shit. Now these kids are what 2004 or shit, 2000 born in 06 now 07. That's crazy to me. That are joining college, and then you also bring in some portal transfers: Mason Porter Brown, Jomo Goings, Fahim Moran. A lot of NAIA builds. We're excited to bring in these. I love these kind of step ups. And this is a great conference to test their strength.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, Rod Strickland being an NBA guy, he's got a bunch of NBA ties, so I feel like that bodes well on the recruiting aspect of things, and can bring guys at the smaller mid-major level and kind of get that appeal to these players that, you know, possibly are maybe overlooked, that can have the athleticism, have the size to maybe, you know, get to the G League somehow, and, you know, put in the work to kind of take a step up. So Rod Strickland's kind of one of those avenues that you see that maybe, you know, some very talented kids can really take advantage of. And I think that's what makes him really good in the recruiting area of things. They do return, like you said, three starters. Malachi Davis is the big one. Him and Jamal Fuller. Malachi Davis averaging like 17.5 points a game. Fuller is
I think two, right?
Yep. And then their forward, power forward, Jamal Fuller, averaging 12.5 a game, 6 rebounds. So they bring back a veteran guard and a veteran power forward, so at both levels. They've got guys that can score. So I really like this team. I just don't want them to disappoint me. I'm just nervous that they're going to disappoint.
I mean, it's all in. You got to go all in. You got to buy in. Or maybe it is shark bait. I don't know. No pun intended. But I'm pretty high on the Sharks. And shout out John. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate this. We normally just chop up every game and give our betting angles. But in order to do that, we need to know our stuff. So we're going to do our conference previews. Last week, we just launched it. Ohio Valley Conference, Patriot League is mentioned in the chat there. But we'll be doing every conference. We got shows tomorrow, show Thursday, or show Wednesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Show Thursday. And then we'll keep continuing for most of the week or most of the month. And if you go to our Twitter at Pump Fake Pod, it has the schedule of our content calendar. We swapped the American East for the Ivy League tonight, but yeah, we really appreciate you tuning in. And yes, love talking these smaller schools. That's where the cheddar is. That's where the cheddar is. And Danny Dumbshit, thanks for tuning in as well. Appreciate you. And the Sharks, yes. I mean, come on. The Sharks are going to be circling. It's Shark Week constantly in college basketball. Team not eligible for conference or for postseason play. I believe NEC postseason, but not NCAA tournament postseason play. The Mercyhurst Lakers, Erie, Pennsylvania, last season, 15-16, 9-7 in the NEC, very respectable in conference play. That's what you have under a winning program in Gary Manchel. 388, 235, 22 years at Mercyhurst. Given that's not all D1, is this their third season? Or fourth season or second season? I think it's only their second season. Yeah, so last year, and I mean, how can we not shout out Bernie Blunt III? I mean, Bernie Blunt III, we called him out early on last year. We were talking about him in October last year, and he's ninth best free throw percentage in the country. He's just a good guard. He facilitates the ball. Doesn't always have to be a selfish scorer and take it himself. Loves to facilitate, but he's also able to take it himself, and especially take it inside is how small he is. So he is not being passed around. He tried to go to the portal. but people denied the Bernie Blunt III. So he's going back to Mercyhurst, and I'm excited about it. And he's staying with Gary Manchel. And they're keeping some sophomores, Jake Lamellin, Mioclis Ivanakis, and Kadir Martin. I mean, good pieces returning. It's good seeing continuity in college basketball, especially on the low end. You see transfer portals moving a lot. I like this Mercyhurst team. I think they're going to be. I mean, how dangerous can you be? But I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be in the top 5 of this conference. I don't necessarily think they're in the top 2, but I think they'll be top 5 in this conference. And they've already been making noise. And maybe it's a first-year luck, beginner's luck, going in and going 9-7 in your first time. But no, just because they don't have film on you, they don't have tape on you, or now they have tape on you, doesn't mean that really matters. It's not like football, really, or anything like that. It's noticeable, but a lot of adjustments in college basketball, a lot of adjustments, in-game adjustments, and Manchel's going to be able to do that with his experience. So I like Mercyhurst here, and I think they're my surprise team in the NEC again. I don't necessarily know if it's a surprise, finishing 3rd last year, but I'd watch out for them and Bernie Blunt.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie Blunt is the only returning starter. They lost their 4 other starters. They do have, like you said, those four sophomores that are returning. They were freshmen last year. It'll be interesting to see what kind of step they take forward here in their second year underneath Coach Manchel there. They also bring Mercyhurst, Lakers. Speaking of the Los Angeles Lakers, bring in the point guard from the Cal Bears, bringing a point guard. So,
P5.
P5 coming to Mercyhurst. ACC P5 coming to Mercyhurst. And then they bring in a couple guys from the D2 level. So it'll be interesting to see just, kind of what kind of roster or what kind of lineup, I guess, that Manchel puts in, comes up with and kind of creates. And it'll be interesting to see what the high major D1 bounce back does here in the NEC, and what a couple D2 guys can do at this level in the NEC. Like you said, those high level D2 and NAIA players can do some good damage here, and these mid-major ranks, as we kind of discussed last week with the Ohio Valley Conference. I think the Mercyhurst, they're not going to be the 80s 90s Lakers, but they'll be able to be respectable, I think, for sure. And I think this year, like you said, last year, I know that they couldn't participate in the postseason tournament. This year, I believe that they can. I think it's only the first year when I was just looking it up a little bit.
NEC postseason tournament.
NEC postseason tournament. The first year that they're in, so New Haven can't this year, but then the second and third season they can participate in the postseason tournament. However, if they win, they can't participate in the NCAA tournament. So.
You heard it here first on Mercyhurst. New Haven Chargers, welcome to D1. Look at that. They even have the Chargers colors. West Haven, Connecticut. The Battle of Pizzas are in deck. 12-17, first year in the NEC. Ted Hodeling's not his first year. 218 and 184 in 15 years. Returning 1 starter. He had to convince the person to do it, Najimi George, returning sophomore. I don't necessarily think he's like all that, but he needed somebody to return to his team. He did a pretty decent job in the portal, but I think this is going to be a rude awakening for a new coming team. But you never know. We've seen those beginner lucks with Mercyhurst. We've seen the beginner lucks with Moyne, Stonehill, sometimes Merrimack. They may surprise people in the NEC, but I think it's going to be a rough start for them. They're just going to lack talent, but they did bring a lot of guys, a lot of young guys, so maybe they can kind of start building this program up. And you got to respect Ted Hodeling from Albany. 218 and 184 in 15 years. That's pretty impressive. So he has built a winning program here. They've taken the jump to D1. So interesting. And yeah, we did mention in the earlier episode, Elliot's the timestamp guy. So on the recording, we'll have the timestamp Danny Dumbship. But Elon and Queens, yes, this is crazy. It is crazy. We talked about that a little earlier. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a tough jump for New Haven. But respect to the coach.
Yeah, not much for me to really put more into it. I don't really know too much about this New Haven team. I didn't do a really deep dive in the brand new newcomer to the NEC
With
Conference.
this team. Yeah.
It'll just be it'll be interesting to see how they start the season. I was going to look up, but I got sidetracked with Danny Dubshit's comment. I was going to look up and just see who they kind of start out with if they have released their. Oh yeah, they start out with UConn. Of course, they start out with UConn. And then they are at home against Columbia, Boston College, Fordham on the road. They haven't released anything else, it doesn't look like. So yeah, this will be kind of a. I'll see what this team kind of does in the non-conference.
Fordham could be in trouble.
It'll be fun to. It'll be fun to just learn the players, learn the coach.
Can't wait to lay 38.5 with Connecticut day one.
Yeah, it's got to be like 48.5 or something ridiculous.
It'll open low 40s probably.
Yeah, it's gonna be like 42.5, and then like literally within an hour and a half, it's gonna spam to like 51, and then they're gonna win by 39.
New Haven, you're getting the haze a little bit because you're new here, so we got to haze you a little bit. Move on to the St. Francis that stayed in. St. Francis, Loretto, Pennsylvania, 16-18, 8-8. There's that 8-8. Luke McConnell, not TJ McConnell, but Luke McConnell, his first year. He's a St. Francis grad.
He is, and he was the associate head coach last year too. So, not necessarily his first year at the school. First year.
One returning starter. You're not the one that made. It is the NCAA tournament bid. You're the St. Francis that decided to stay in PA, which is impressive. I like the St. Francis team. I mean, you got to think they're coming up with a different swagger, and feeling hot and mighty. I would be, especially after making the tournament. New year coach. I think they realize that it's anyone's ball game, no matter what. If you're 16 and 18, it doesn't matter in college basketball. Once you get to the conference tournament, you make your conference tournament, and I think they have the pieces to stay up there, at least in the top half of the conference. Yeah, I like St. Francis here. How can you not? I mean, what a story last year.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot. I don't like this team this year. 10 of the players that were on that team last year transferred out after Rob Krimmel left. So now you're kind of rebuilding a whole new roster. You're not going to have the funding. You're not going to have people that want to come and play for this program, knowing that this is their last year as D1 going down to D3. So they're losing all of their scholarships. This is going to be the last year of scholarships. So what do you expect people to do? Just not take athletic scholarships and stay?
You saw it with Hartford, man. I mean, they dug in that last season with Hartford.
So yeah, I think Luke McConnell, he's got his work cut out for him here. Kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place per se. But I don't really have high hopes on the St. Francis team. Like you said, maybe they can squeak in as the 8 seed, and anything happens in March, they could make a run and win the NEC again with an under 500 record, sure. But I see them being, the last team in if they're going to make the conference tournament.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. And there, I guess my phone hit that jump. I guess that's the next step by St. Francis. You want to leave us? The other St. Francis already left us, St. Francis, New York. So all St. Francis are D2. Stonehill Skyhawks, Northeastern Massachusetts, last season 15-17, NEC 7-9. Coach Chris Krause, 163 and 160. He's just slightly above average, but he is returning 3 starters this year. And Stonehill was competitive. I mean, they were competitive and constantly competitive. And I remember them playing a ton of close games last year. Udo Rahern, Herman Kofi, NEC all-rookie team selection, one of the best freshman scorers in the country, shooting almost 55%. It's pretty impressive. And then also Chad Stinson, Ethan Mauser as well. So some continuity returning for Stonehill. I like this team. I don't know how high I can be on Stonehill, but I think it's going to be a nice jump for them, and I'm going to be high on them. I think we're going to fly high with the Skyhawks. They're going to make a name, just like kind of Merrimack did. They had the similar hype going in, and they go out and win the conference. Stonehill is going to make a noise in the NEC. So, give me Herman Kofi and Stonehill Skyhawks. I like them. Top 3. I think they're my top 3.
Yeah, I mean, Stonehill, first year, being able to be eligible for the NCAA tournament is this year. So that's going to kind of light a spark into them. It's something that they've been waiting for these last 3 years. So you look at these guys that they're bringing in, like you said, with Herman Kofi and Ethan Muser. He's another guy. He's been with the program now. He's done the whole full transition from D2 to D1. And so it's one of those things where, now's their chance. Now's their time to shine. This is when it really matters to be able to get to the NCAA tournament and make a name for themselves. And like you said, they were in a lot of close games. I think there was only maybe 3 or 4 games where it was that they lost in double digits in the NEC. And so, I think Stonehill's going to take a step up here. They returned 3 of their three starters from last year's team. And I really I don't think I have them as high as number 3 like you, but I do see them finishing maybe in that 4th, 5th type range. Just maybe a little tiny step up.
I like that. Well, agree to disagree. I said top 3, so stay tuned because we only got one left. The Wagner Seahawks. Wagner, they play gritty defense, some awful basketball just to watch. When I'm betting on Wagner, hopefully it's mainly an under. But Staten Island, New York, last season 14-16, NEC 6-10. Kind of a disappointing year for Wagner. They would hang around these games. Obviously, you don't really get blown out unless you can't shoot the ball and you only score 37 to 42 points. Sometimes you can win those games scoring 51. And that's kind of how Wagner likes to play. And Copeland likes to coach. But you bring in some good transfers, Jaden Baker, Nick Jones, Johanse Owoke, Travis Gray, and Eduardo Placer. I mean, bringing in some decent pieces, one returning starter. So not much as continuity, but I think bringing in the athletic pieces that Wagner was missing last year. So I will take Wagner to be definitely a sneaky team this year. And just the way they play, they're always in those games. So I like this Wagner team. They're certainly in my top 5 for the NEC, which we're about to discuss our predictions here after your take on these Seahawks. So,
this is an interesting team. They only returned 2 people from last year, one of them being the starter, Xavier Fitch. The other guy didn't even play, but those are the 2 guys on the roster that return. So they used a lot of portal additions, as you had said. So it's really going to be how Coach Copeland can get them kind of to gel as a team. I'm hoping that they possibly take a big-ish step on the offensive side while still being able to kind of be that high defensive prowess. But it'll be this is a mystery team for me here in the NEC. If I have one of the bigger mystery teams, it's probably them in Chicago State, just based on the transfers that they brought in. I know this isn't a new coach, but the fact that you got 13 new players on this team. It'll be interesting to see kind of what they do, and they might be one to watch here in the NEC, depending on how well those players that they brought in through the portal can kind of mesh together.
All right. How we feeling?
I'm feeling better than Wagner's going to be feeling on opening night when they have to go to VCU.
Oh, man, they're going to score 28 points that game.
Over under 28.5.
All right, let's get into it. NEC predictions. Elliot.
All right.
I wrote mine down, but if you have yours ready to go, I can go as well.
We'll go 1-on-1.
I'm going to 10-1. Let's just
Yeah,
we'll just do
10-1. Let's go 1v1.
I'll go first. New Haven, 10th, obviously new team. Just taking the D1. I just think that they're going to be at the bottom of the barrel. I don't see them high as a ceiling past 8th. 9th, St. Francis.
We're going 1v1.
Oh, you want to go 1v1? Okay.
Yeah, let's go 1v1. I'm with you.
I'm with you now. I see what you mean. All right, I'm going 10th with New Haven.
New Haven. I co-sign that.
9th is going to be St. Francis. I think, the step down is alarming. I think they're going to get some sneaky wins, be competitive, but I have them 9th.
Hate to agree, but that's right where I have them as well. I was almost going to switch and put New Haven number 9. A little shock. They don't end last, and St. Francis at the very bottom. But I'm going to stick with New Haven at 10, and then St. Francis at 9.
And we'll make sure to send this to Trevor. And Trevor's not here tonight, but he will be with us on other previews, and he'll be sending his conference predictions as well, top 10. For 8th for me, I went back and forth on this one. I'm going to go Chicago State. I went back. I had them 7th originally, but I went back and forth. I think the new team, we always know what Chicago State kind of does. They flail out. But I do think it's a better step for them, like mentioned, and better than 4-28.
Yeah, so this is we're going to first differ a little bit, and then I'm going to go with Moyne here at number 8. I just don't think that they're going to be able to figure it out on the defensive side of things. While they may be able to put up some points, I think it's still going to pose them a problem to be able to not be able to stop anybody. So I'm going to have Moyne here in the 8th spot.
All right. In the 7th, I'm going to go Fairleigh Dickinson. I think Fairleigh Dickinson in the same spot with Moyne that you mentioned. Offensive efficiency, defensive lacking, and the worries with Castleberry. So, I'll have Fairleigh Dickinson 7th here.
Yep, I'm with you on this one. I will have Fair Dick here in at number 7.
All right. Number 6 for me is Moyne. I know you mentioned them. We touched on them, how they work, but I think they're going to take a little bit of a jump and lock in some of these games and hopefully figure out the other side of the ball outside of offense. Moyne 6.
Yep. So this is we're just kind of doing a flip from 6 to 8, 8 to 6. I've got Chicago State here. I really think that Landon Bussey is going to kind of be able to bring those guards, those athletic SWAC guards and players there from the SWAC in here to the NEC. And I know that this, the SWAC is notoriously known as the worst conference, but I think the athleticism that they bring is going to pose a problem for some of these teams in the NEC. And I expect them to, be respectable in this conference, not necessarily like a 4-12 like they were last year. I think they can take a step up and maybe be at that 8-8 kind of range. There.
Yeah. I mean, that gets it done in the 6th spot. All right, 5th for me is going to be Mercyhurst. I went back and forth on them being 4th or 5th. I think Mercyhurst still has a winning record in the NEC in top 5. And I like Bernie Blunt, but just not able to close out games. So I have them 5th.
Yeah, so here for me, it's very hard. It's kind of a toss-up between Mercyhurst and Wagner here. I just don't know what to expect with Wagner, just with all of the new portal additions. But I'm gonna go with Wagner here at number 5. I think that the proven coaching prowess of the oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Manchel, sorry. The coaching prowess of Coach Manchel there at Mercyhurst is going to be able to kind of edge that out. So I have them at number 4, Wagner at number 5. And you can go ahead with your number 4.
I have Central Connecticut State. I think even with 25 wins last year, little step down. I think they flirt with close to 20 wins, but a tougher non-con schedule this year. So I think Central Connecticut State, I have them 4th.
And I guess I misspoke because I do have Stonehill. I didn't think I had him as my top 3, but I've got Stonehill here as my number 3 team coming in here. You could probably, the more I think about it, maybe interchange Stonehill and Mercyhurst as kind of a 3-4 for me. But I'll take Stonehill here at number 3.
Number 3, I have Wagner. I like the pieces that they brought in, and I think if you bring athleticism to the way that they play, they're going to be able to get some wins just with the low amount of possessions that they allow. So I like Wagner in the 3rd spot, surprise team.
And I will go with Central Connecticut State here at number 2. I think, proven program here in the NEC. I think they're going to remain near here at the top, which leaves us to both be on, I believe. Well,
I think it's my second one, though. So second one is Stonehill for me. I like the jump Stonehill takes. I think they're going to be a major surprise team as well. And Stonehill, Wagner, I mean, can't always be cookie cutter. We can't always think of too much about last year with these teams with all the new faces that we talked about. So I'm going to go Stonehill and Wagner in the top 3. And yeah, I mean, we're sharking it up. We're Shark Boy. We're Shark Boys there. So we're Long Island number 1 there, huh? Long Island iced tea.
That's right.
All right. Wonderful. So we'll run through I'll run through my top 10 there. Long Island, Stonehill, Wagner, Central Connecticut State, Mercyhurst, Moyne, Fairleigh Dickinson, Chicago State, St. Francis, PA, and also New Haven, the new D1 team. So those are my top 10 on the NEC. Let Elliot give his top 10 rundown there.
Yeah, so starting, I got number 1, got the Long Island Sharks. Number 2, Central Connecticut State, the Real Blue Devils. Number 3, Stonehill. 4, Mercyhurst. 5, Wagner. 6, Chicago State. 7, Fairleigh Dickinson. 8, Moyne Dolphins. 9, St. Francis. And 10, New Haven. Welcome to the NEC.
I love it. Trevor will be providing his. We'll make a little graphic just like we did, all in the pinned tweet on our X account at PumpFakePod. Has all of our schedule. It's going to have all the preview predictions and graphics under there for every conference we do. So we're going to get on into it. I got my green shirt on for the Ivy League. Only 8 teams to go through here in the Ivy League. Always a fun league. Always a freaking woke league. Finally deciding to play basketball. Some storylines you mentioned earlier on while I was taking a break. And P, I didn't think I'd have to go to the restroom again, but here I am battling another pee break. But we're staying true as we skip on to the Ivy League. Elliot, how you feeling about the Ivy League?
It's a feeling. I think it's just one of those conferences that I wish they would just expand to just all 8 teams make it to the tournament, to their postseason tournament rather than have the top 4. I think it's kind of ridiculous when you are set up for a classic 8-team bracket play system. Everybody,
especially home field advantage or home court advantage.
Yeah, everybody gets in, and then it's just weird that they have that rotating home court. So it's like, you could have a team that doesn't even make the top 4 that hosts every single round of the Ivy League tournament. It's just right. It's just weird to me. So I would love to see them expand it out, go all 8 teams, play at the home court, higher seed home court all the way through the entire tournament. They're close enough together. It's 2 extra games. I honestly just don't see why we can't get this done. So if they want me to be the commissioner of the Ivy League, by all means, I'd love to bring up my ideas and get more eyeballs on the Ivy League here come at the end of the season for the Ivy League championship postseason tournament.
Let's get on into it. Figure it out, Ivy League. Going alphabetically here again. Brown Bears, Providence, Rhode Island. Last season, 14-13. A pretty good year last year for Brown. Definitely a step up. 6-8 in the Ivy League, not the best. Mike Martin, 162, 184, 13 years, 3 returning starters. I got to be feeling somewhat high on Brown. I mean, Brown definitely lacks athleticism. But I mean, you lose on a buzzer beater in the Ivy League championship last year. So they had a chance to make a run, and they definitely certainly did make a run. You bring back some good pieces, 3 returning starters, as mentioned, and Landon Lewis and also AJ Lesbert Jr. So bringing in some good pieces as well. You can't be mad about this Brown team. I just think like stacking up against some of the better teams like Cornell, Harvard, maybe not Harvard as of recent, Yale, Princeton as of recent. They're definitely taking a step down, but that's where Brown has not been able to compete. But I think we saw that last year, and now they bring in even more athletic pieces. I do like this Brown team and a familiar coach in Mike Martin, and I think they're going to come back with a little vengeance in this Ivy League.
Yeah, I mean, Keno Lilly Jr., he was one of my favorite players to watch last year, was absolutely electric. I loved watching him. That was like the sole reason why I tuned into the Brown Bears last year. Was to watch him play, and Owusu-Ani until he got hurt with that torn labrum in his shoulder, so that was unfortunate for them, and it was also unfortunate just losing on that buzzer beater there in the Ivy League final. Truly heartbreaking. I really wanted to see Keno Lilly in the NCAA tournament, and just all the hype that could have been surrounded by him, and the stories that could have been created with him going off for like 30 something against who knows who it would have been. But yeah, I think it's going to be very tough to replace Keno Lilly and Owusu-Ani. Those are 2 guys that they relied heavily upon. I know that they kind of lived without Owusu-Ani after he got hurt, but Keno Lilly kind of drove the ship for them. So it's going to be interesting to see what point guard kind of steps up, who they have coming in at point guard. I think one of the guys there at point guard is going to be Malcolm Risby Jefferson, averaged about 5.5 points a game, 2 assists. So we'll see if he can take that step up and be a reliable point guard for them. I know, it's interesting. They have those 3 other returning starters, but those two starters that they're missing now that ran out of eligibility, those are big pieces. It's hard for me to see them. I know 6 and 8, 6th last year. It's kind of a disappointing year for who they had on their roster. I feel like, at least in the regular season. But then you saw kind of what they were capable of when they made it to the championship game. Which I'm trying to think. Wait, if they finished 6th though, how did they get there? Do they do 8 now?
There's a regular season involved, brother. You do know they play a regular season as well, and then conference play as well. So There's 8. There was 8 teams in the championship, or in the Ivy League championship. By the way, there are 8 teams, but Tony Reale around the horn.
Didn't there used to be only 4 though?
We'll have to look that up, but there is 8. But yeah,
looking it up.
They're talking about the 5th starter, David Rochester, Jeremiah Jenkins. So Jeremiah Jenkins, freshman starter last year, true freshman. You got to imagine that he continues starting as a sophomore.
Yeah, it's still 4. They lost in the championship buzzer beater in 2024, not 2025, 2 years ago.
Apologies. Hand up.
I was about to say, I was like, wait, am I tripping? I swear there was only the top 4 seeds, because it's the stupidest thing. I always get so pissed off about it.
Well, 2024 doesn't feel like that long ago. So
no, it doesn't. But yeah, so anyway.
I was going to say, because it was Yale versus Cornell last year. Yeah. It was it was Yale versus Cornell last year. Columbia made massive waves last year. Dominant start, 8-0. And then you finish the year 12-15 in New York. Coach Kevin Horde, year 1, 1-13 in the Ivy League. Embarrassing. 4 returning starters. You just get your ass beat constantly. You got to be able to come out of it somewhat, right? I don't think so. I don't know if you want your starters to return once you go 1-13. Especially just a little surprising after the non-conference that they had. it's pretty funny, like just seeing what happened there. I mean, 8-0 you start off with, dominating, or what, 7? It was like 6-0, and then just lacked anything offensively efficient, lacked anything defensively efficient, especially taking into the conference play. And that's just not something that you can do. Bottom half of the team, I don't think this team can match up against the top 5 in the Ivy League. So they're in the cellar again for Columbia, and it's just a tough. It's been tough for Columbia in the Ivy League for quite some time.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. Coach comes over from on the coaching staff of the Gators, and I think that he in his kind of preseason interviews he mentioned that the style of play is going to mimic kind of the Florida Gators, which obviously we'll see how you can mimic that style of play with the athlete and athletic differences between Columbia and Florida. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, new coach. It's funny that they bring back 4 starters, even with a new coach. So kind of shows that these Ivy League teams, typically you don't get a lot of transfers with these teams. Typically, if you're going to lose a starter, it's to graduation, like Brown losing those 2 to graduation. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me as much as it would if a first-year coach coming into another low-mid major, unlike the Ivy League. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he's going to have to prove it to me, to see, to kind of show me, what he's capable of as a head coach, and if that style of basketball with trying to bring that Florida style over, if he can find the pieces that can kind of fit and make it efficient and make it successful there in the Ivy League. It'd be interesting to see. I think that, if it does, it'll be kind of a style similar to, like a Cornell type offense, maybe a high powered offense. So, maybe we look at some overs in these Columbia games, especially in the Ivy League, maybe, but
start 8-0, it doesn't really matter if you're Columbia. Speaking of Cornell Big Red last season, 18-11, Ivy League 9-5. John Jacques, 18-11, assistant coach for 12 years. Cornell Big Red in his blood. He's got Big Red blood. 2 returning starters, and they're both in the backcourt. Cooper Nord, Jake Fegan. Nord led the team with 79 threes. Fegan sank 51, and he's a freshman or a sophomore. And I'll tell you what, they're the best backcourt in the Ivy League. I don't care what Yale has. I don't care. I don't care. This is the best backcourt in the Ivy League, and they prove it with their offensive style of play. You're talking about overs with Columbia. Mentioned Cornell, yes, because their overs are going to smack. They're constantly in the 80s. The only reason they don't win is if they're dying by the 3 because they can't live by it. So that offense is going to stay. They're going to have so much stuff in the backcourt going on that you won't even know who a center is. You won't even know who a forward is because everyone can going to be in the backcourt. In that motion offense and that run and gun style of play for Cornell. So I like this team. I'm super high on them. They almost sniffed an NCAA tournament bid last year. Yale ends up getting in. But Yale always a competitor in the NCAA tournament. Let's see how John Jacques fares in his second year here in Cornell. And if he can take that leap to win the Ivy League, getting to the NCAA or the Ivy League championship in his first year, and bringing that high-powered offense that he knows and loves and ran back in early 2010s.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you. I think this backcourt is definitely elite in terms of Ivy League backcourts. Like you said, they live and die by the 3, but I think they really live by the 3. I mean, 23rd in the nation in 3-point shooting percentage last year, 38%, close to 38%. Statistically, offensively, they are tremendously efficient as an offense. I think that, one of their things maybe is going to be trying to play a little bit more defense, just to kind of go along with a little bit of that offense, or to go along with that offense, just in case they do have, that down shooting game where they shoot 20% from the 3. But you look at all the pieces that they have around them: Jacob Beckles, Adam Hinton, Josh Baldwin, all guys who can shoot the three. 1 through 5, they're all going to shoot the three. It's going to be an high up tempo pace. So I'm really high on Cornell as well. I think last year I was watching that Cornell Yale game, and I think I bet like a live over, and for a little bit it was kind of like both teams weren't making anything, and then the offense is just freaking ramped it up, and they scored probably 40-45 points in like freaking 6 minutes or 7 minutes in the over sword. But yeah, so I think with the backcourt they have, we always talk about guard plays big in March. So I look to them to do some damage, not only in the regular season, but also be a force to be reckoned with here come Ivy League tournament time, as long as they can stay healthy.
Absolutely. Definitely going to make the 4. Dartmouth, Hanover, New Hampshire, 14-14, 8-6 in Ivy League. They make the final champion. They make the Final 4. You got to be happy if you're Dave McLaughlin, and he kind of is. So it was a great win, a huge jump from Dartmouth, just a perennial loser in the Ivy League. And now they kind of took that step forward and showed what it worth. They had some great players. One we mentioned earlier that transferred. You do lose some players in the portal to USC, William Mary, but you bring back Brandon Mitchell-Day, Jackson Monroe, Jaden Williams. They have the experience. McLaughlin made a point here. You finish top 3, and least fouls given, defensive rebounding as well. I'm missing the other stat on my notes, but those are great stats to be top 10 in the country, especially if you're a Dartmouth team. So that's a disciplined ball team, bringing back 3 starters. I do like this Dartmouth team. I just hope that they can carry the momentum. I think it's a big jump. I think they'll be flirting with the top 5, definitely. But it will be interesting to see if they can carry the momentum like they started building last year.
Yeah, I think we talk about Cornell's backcourt. We can talk about Dartmouth's front court. They returned those 3 starting front court guys from last year that you had mentioned. I think that they kind of pose a problem for some of the teams there in the Ivy League, just because of their dominance down low there in the front court. So it'll be interesting to see how, the clash of styles with Cornell versus Dartmouth, a strong backcourt, high powered offense, high tempo with a kind of a bruising style there at Dartmouth with those three forwards that they have. It's like last year, I think Cornell and Dartmouth split the regular season, and then I think Cornell ended up beating them by like 10-15 points there in the conference tournament in the first round. So yeah, I think if they want to take that next step up, obviously they're really happy with that tight third making the conference tournament. But if they want to kind of repeat that this year, they got to have solid guard play. They can rely on their forwards all they want. But when you look at Yale, when you look at Cornell, when you look at Princeton, those teams that are, constantly here at the top of the Ivy League, even Brown has been a little bit, they have at least 1 or 2 guards that they can really rely on to kind of help them throughout the postseason. So I think that's kind of the step you're looking for Dartmouth to take, is find a couple reliable guards that they can rely on. And if they find one, if they find one and they can rely on those 3 front court players alongside a good reliable guard that they can put the ball in the hands of, I think that they could, make an attempt at getting top 4 again and making the postseason tournament.
Yeah. They're definitely going to flirt with it. Harvard, who normally isn't in top 4, but definitely was not last year. It was just a major step down for a coach that I love, Tommy Amaker. 18 years at Harvard, 304 and 194, bringing back 3 returning starters, 7-7 in the Ivy League. A lot of games last year with Harvard that they would be up, and then they would just go on a massive drought, a massive cold spell offensively, and then just give up a ton defensively, where they were just out of the game. And I think that just comes with an experienced, super young team that Amaker brought in, but he's happy with the production that they had. And then you bring back 3 starters in Chandler Piggy, Thomas Baddies the second. Let's go Baddies. And Robert Hitton, Ivy League Rookie of the Year last year, 14.6 points per game. This team is able to score. And I love Tommy Amaker. I've always been a Tommy Amaker fan, even when he was at Michigan. I think this was just a perfect fit for him. He definitely brought this program back, taking a couple steps back. But it's glad to see that Harvard's invested in Amaker and sticking with him in the long run. He's a Dookie. He's got that trust fund blood, Harvard and Duke. But let's he definitely knows how to coach some basketball, and we always know that Harvard's going to have some random white dude that also is going to be a clip, and always just has some just good motion offense and can spread the floor. Let's see if their defense is going to be able to pick it up this year and take them across to the next step.
Yeah, I think they started out Ivy League play last year 2-5. Like you said, they're a very young team, but they finished on a high note, 5-2. Just couldn't quite make it to the conference tournament. That's why I would have liked to see them expand to 8, because I think they were playing really good basketball down the stretch. Just because everybody kind of grew up and they were playing a lot better there at the end of the tournament, or end of the season, I should say. But unfortunately, I think they finished 5th. So yeah, I look to I think that Harvard's gonna regain some credibility, kind of get back to what they're known for, and that's competing for Ivy League championships this year under Coach Tommy Amaker.
All right, Penn, fun one. Philadelphia 8-19 last year, 4-10, just tough. 2 returning starters, but you bring in Fran McCaffrey from Iowa, can bring in that run and gun style of play to kind of match these offenses that we mentioned. 29 seasons for Fran McCaffrey, 3 at Lehigh, 6 at UNC Greensboro, 5 at Siena, 15 at Iowa, where he brought all of them to NCAA tournament outside of Lehigh. So McCaffrey able to be a winner and bring back this Penn program that's always been competitive, at least in the MAC. So he's happy with his roster. You got Michael Zanoy, Dylan Williams, AJ Levine. I think he's going to be able to work with what they got and definitely see a massive improvement than 4-10 in the Ivy League. And games that were Penn just was never in. I mean, constantly made massive underdogs in Ivy League specifically. And it's just unheard of for just the history that Penn has had and the Palestra has in college basketball. So I think Fran McCaffrey could bring something back to this program, get them resurged, and I see a massive jump for them, flirting with the middle to the top of the Ivy League this year, even with the pieces that they're bringing in. And I'm happy with a lot of the roster that they've developed. And you can't be mad at Fran McCaffrey and how he's going to be able to match up with these running gunners in the Ivy League.
Yep, correct. You are spot on in regards to that. I think that the Ivy League, we talk about the NEC unders and the Patriot unders. We might be talking about the Ivy League overs. There's a lot of teams that I can see a lot of points being scored. Classic Cornell, Yale. Now we talk about Penn with Fran McCaffrey's style, not playing defense but putting up a lot of points. You can then even turn towards Columbia, same way with their new coach, trying to do Florida's offensive kind of run and gun style. So I could see a lot of points being scored here in the Ivy League this year. But yeah, it's interesting. Fran McCaffrey. They fired Steve Donahue there and brought back Fran McCaffrey, proud alum of Penn. It'll be interesting to see kind of how he makes this work, kind of what he does. I was just kind of looking up, trying to see a little bit, couple guards maybe that they brought in. But typically, McCaffrey is known for bringing in a couple, 2-3 kind of big, small-ish power forwards that can shoot the three. It's got a couple reliable guards that are also really good really good at just basically up tempo pace, and kind of forcing pressure on the defense. They might not take the smartest shots, even though they are in the Ivy League. They're going to probably jack up some pretty dumb shots, but that's kind of Fran McCaffrey's style. So it'll be interesting to see how this translates. And I do think that I would expect that they will not finish seventh in the Ivy League. They will be above that. I'm pretty confident in that.
Right. Princeton, major step down. Last season, 19-11, I'm just kind of shocked by that. I just didn't see them as a really competitive team, the games that I watched. 8-6 in the Ivy League. They must have picked it up and just kind of squeaked out some wins. Sometimes they would be competitive and be up and then just bring down. But, Dalen Davis, Jackson Hickey, Jacob Huggins, I just think this team is just lacking that extra talent. You're bringing back one returning starter. Guys off the bench were unimpressive. You saw a lot of games get away from them in the second stint for these guys, or the second team coming in for Princeton. So I think I do love Mitch Henderson, 251, 133, 13 years leading Princeton, New Jersey, to constant fame and fortune in the Ivy and even a Sweet 16 appearance. But I don't think Princeton's going to be able to compete, especially with the run and gun style that we've mentioned. So I think this is a step down for Princeton year, and going to be a step back and kind of just have to look at a little gut check season for the Tigers.
Yeah. It's hard, Xavier Lee, Florida gets their guy, their next ball dominant guard. Xavier Lee transfers. Also Caden Pierce, who was the Ivy League Player of the Year in 23-24. He also transfers from Princeton as well. They somehow kind of managed to nab that tied third spot and be one of the top 4 teams last year. I think they've made it to the Ivy League Madness 6 out of the 7 years since it's been a thing. But I think this year might be 6 out of 8. I don't expect the Tigers to kind of pop up here. I could see them missing out on the Ivy League Madness this year with what they've lost. And, obviously Mitch Henderson, his style, his offense, the Princeton style offense, back cuts, they're going to have that. But I don't see the type of players like a Caden Pierce, like a Xavier Lee, to really kind of elevate them to a top 4 Ivy League team even. So I see them missing the tournament in a little preview. Yeah.
Gonna have to agree with you. And then the ultimate team for tonight, Yale, New Haven, Connecticut, battle the pizza. 22-8, 13-1 last season. You lost to Harvard. Tommy Amaker, they did get it done. James Jones, 418, 319, 26 years at Yale. Very impressive stint. 3 returning starters for a team that made the tournament. And the last 2 years, Nick Townsend, you can't say enough about him. 6'7" senior forward, averages 15.4 returning. And then you also got Casey Simmons coming back, Samson Alaton, and some interesting pieces that Elliot can touch on from that were brought in the transfer portal. That you got to imagine that if you're coming in to be Yale standard, you're going to be a good player, and that offense is going to breathe around town, or center around Townsend, I should say. Yale is honestly always the favorite here, and as they rightfully should. They've really built a powerhouse program, and I expect them to be at the top of the Ivy League, just like they always have been, looking down on some of these teams. And I think Townsend's my pick to win the Ivy League Player of the Year again.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against James Jones there in Yale. You saw what they did last year, and they don't really. The thing about them is they don't really have a weakness. They're kind of solid throughout. They got a great front court, they got a great back court, great coach. Good depth and bench, and some guards off the bench, and a couple forwards that'll kind of be competing for some more time this year. I really think that, Yale obviously going to be top 4, in my opinion, unless they lose somebody like a Townsend or somebody, important. But even then, I think that they can step up and still be top 4 in the Ivy League. But yeah, I think Yale will be towards the top. Hard to root against them. You'd be stupid not to pick them in your top 4. But if they came out with odds to make the Ivy League tournament, Yale would probably be like minus 2,000 or something crazy ridiculous like that.
Yeah, we got to trust James Jones' system there. That was it. Pretty good show there. We do have our predictions for the Ivy League, top to bottom. Only 8 teams in the Ivy League. Pretty good show. Let's get on into it and go for our predictions. I'll go ahead and kick us off. 8th for me, Columbia.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Unproven head coach, new head coach. Don't really know what to expect. Maybe I see them taking a step up next year. Just basically, I think he just implements his system, tries to bring in the pieces, and I think maybe this year is one of those where it's just kind of a trial and error. And I think it's going to be more on the side of a lot of error.
7th for me is Princeton. I think Princeton, it's not up to their standard, and a tough non-conference schedule just based on how awesome they've been recently, and they schedule out in advance. Just think it's bad timing for them. They're going to start off with a low record, so they need to pick it up in the Ivy League. And I just think that there's better teams this year in the Ivy League. So I think it's going to be a rough go for Princeton this year. They're 7th in mine.
Yep, I agree. We're gonna match up here on these first 2. I got Princeton here at number 7 as well. We spoke about the losses that they dealt with the transfers of Caden Pierce and Xavier Lee, and how young that team's going to be, regardless of how well coached that team is in the system. Sometimes a system can only do so much. We saw that with Colgate last year. If you don't have the amount of the talent and this within the system, you might struggle a little bit. So Mitch Henderson, I think, can only do so much, and I think he's going to have an uphill battle this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Brown as my 6th. I like Brown. I think they definitely have the pieces, but I mean, as you mentioned, Keno Lilly, and then also losing a couple more pieces as well. I think they'll be somewhat competitive in non-con. They have an easier non-con schedule. But I necessarily don't think 6 is all that bad. I think Columbia and Princeton are really going to struggle. So I think Brown will be somewhat under 500 in the Ivy League. But I like this Brown team. I think they can definitely make a run. You only have 8 teams to pick from, and I think 6 of them are definitely better than the other 2 that we've mentioned. So yeah, I was back and forth with Brown being 4th, 5th, and 6th, but I ultimately led them to be 6th.
Yeah, I mean it's super hard because you look at like 4th, 5th, and 6th last year. Were decided by 2 games, so it's like actually 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th were decided by 2 games. 2nd was even Cornell was 9-5. So the fact that, you had a 3-game difference between 2nd and 6th kind of shows you how hard it is to kind of pick these middle 3, 4, 5, 6 a lot. And, you could have a bunch that are, tied up at the end and you have a huge tiebreaker. You could have 3 or 4 teams here at 7 and 7. Especially I could see that happening this year, just with the fact that how, I think there's some good talent here in the Ivy League, and I think some teams can maybe match up well. So I do see maybe the like 3 or 4 teams coming in at 7 and 7. But for me, I've got Dartmouth at number 6. Reasoning for that, I love their front court. I just have a big question mark with their backcourt. And in terms of you look at the other teams there that I think are going to have a better backcourt than them, I think we'll be able to do a little bit more damage and will be a little bit more successful. I think Dartmouth obviously is going to be one of those teams that's going to be, competitive and a force to be reckoned with, but without a proven backcourt, it's hard for me to kind of put them above these other teams that I'll kind of rattle off here.
And yeah, my fifth is Dartmouth. I like this Dartmouth team. Brandon Wright, he's a solid player. I think they have a lot of good pieces in those stats mentioned that McLaughlin loves. So I do like McLaughlin as a coach. I think they're going to be interchangeable with my fourth pick, and I think that they're going to be just devastated to be missing the top four bracket.
Yeah, and I'm my fifth. We're just gonna kind of flip these 5 and 6. I've got Brown narrowly missing the Ivy League tournament here.
Fourth is Harvard for me. I like what Tommy Amaker brings. I had them actually second at one point when I first started building this. I think this is a major jump to get Harvard back. They saw that they could beat Yale. They did beat Yale at the penultimate game last year. So I was back and forth on them, but I have them fourth. Give me Harvard Crimson.
Yeah, so for me, I've got Penn here. I've got Fran McCaffrey kind of taking a step up and bringing his Penn team up from 7-4, making the tournament in his first year. I think people are going to think that's a very respectable first season there at Penn in his homecoming. So give me Penn at number 4.
And then number 3 is switching that with me. I got Penn. I think Fran McCaffrey, he's been a proven winner at all places, and that's going to continue. And it's going to be a massive jump. I mean, anything's a massive jump from last year. So, yeah, I had them 4th originally, but I moved them to 3rd.
Yeah, third for me, I'm going to go with Harvard. I, like yourself, expect a big step up for this Tommy Amaker squad. Jesus. But yeah, I think Harvard's going to take a big step up. I think that was proven, like I said, finishing the season 5-2 in conference. I think that they're going to use that kind of as a trampoline and kind of start their season out on a good note and not put themselves in a hole at 2-5 like they did last season. So give me Harvard at the 3 spot.
That's a great call out, and I'll just go ahead and do the top 2 because it's obviously we give one away. Second for me is going to be Cornell. I wanted them to go first. I like this Cornell team, but I think their defense is going to lack, and it's tough for me to pick against Yale. Yale been a proven stout winner in the regular season. I think they're going to dominate 13-1 last year. Then you keep Townsend. He's going to have a massive year. And I think they're going to be another force to be reckoned with. Not saying that they win the conference tournament. That's a whole other ball game in the Final Four, especially when you got Cornell, Penn, and Harvard, maybe Dartmouth, Brown. Hell, I mean, maybe even Princeton and Columbia. We could be flat out wrong with our predictions. So, but it's tough for me to go against what James Jones and that system built with Yale. So I have Yale first, Cornell second.
Yeah, I am. I'm flip-flopping. I'm going Cornell at the top.
All right.
I trust in the backcourt. Like we said, we both said it, they are definitely the best backcourt. They have the best backcourt in the Ivy League, and I will go with the best backcourt over the best front court, which I think Yale does have the best front court. So give me Cornell over Yale, and another high, obviously it's hard to go against Yale, like you said, just because when you have a 14-game slate, you expect Cornell to maybe have a couple down games, whereas Yale's going to be more consistent. So in that series of 14 games, can Cornell get it done versus, okay, they can just score 100 points and beat Yale 197 in the championship game, almost like they did last year. So I get why people, you like yourself would tend to be like, all right, let's go Yale, proven winners, consistent. But I'm gonna go with Cornell. I think they, hopefully they maybe figure something out with the defense. But if not, I got the backcourt. I got some guys that can stroke the 3. And they might, I think averaged 85 last year. Maybe they're going to be averaging upwards of 90 this year. And first one to 90 wins, and I think Cornell's going to win a lot.
Yeah, and they can match them, that's for sure. But everyone, hour and 45 minutes almost here talking, for the most part, NEC and Ivy League here on the Pump Fake Pod, exclusively chopping it up. Every conference we're going to do. If you please are listening, you're all the way to this point in the recording or here on the live with us. Everyone, thanks for joining into the live. John, Danny Dumbshit, Trevor, Crutch. We appreciate you guys hopping in on the live. And follow us on Twitter, at Pump Fake Pod, literally at Pump Fake Pod has our content preview. Tomorrow we are discussing the American East and the WAC. We are not going live until 10:30 Eastern, so we'll be a little later. But we're going to go over the American East and the WAC. We're going to start out east, so we're going to go out west. It's impressive. And then also on Thursday, we have the Sun Belt and SWAC until 11 Eastern. Maybe a little before then, we'll figure it out. But the Sun Belt and SWAC on Thursday. So that's our week of content over the next 2 days. American East and WAC tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern. At Pump Fake Pod on Twitter, at Pump Fake Pod on YouTube. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go ahead and like this video up. Elliot, thanks for hanging out, talking ball. It's always a pleasure talking ball with you.
Yep, and I just want to – one thing that I had written down on my notes that I forgot to mention is look out for Ethan Roberts this year at Penn. 6'5" guard, big guard that I think that Fran McCaffrey will have a lot of fun with. He likes those bigger guards, and I think that he scored 23 games last year, double digits, didn't make the All-Ivy League team. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's a senior this year, and a Fran McCaffrey offense. Expect big things from him. So that was something that I had written down that I had totally forgot. So just a little food for thought on the way out.
I love it. I love some food for thought. That's all we got here. And we always want to give our thoughts here as we can. We definitely did. An hour and 46 minutes talking the worst conferences in college basketball. Just kidding. We love them. Some Friday night hoops only special. Ivy League, NEC. At Pump Fake Pod. Make sure to like and subscribe. Peace and love, everyone. And on Trevor's behalf, I will say toodles. Good night, everyone.